What if every prayer you whispered was heard but never answered on time? What if silence was not rejection but preparation? How long would you keep believing when nothing changes? He whispered the same plea every single night for decades. Heaven stayed silent, year after year. But what unfolded on the day faith nearly faded will break everything you assume about unanswered prayers. Let me tell you the story of belief, patience, and a promise fulfilled far too late in the end. If this question is already stirring your heart, stay with us until the end. Subscribe to the channel and share your thoughts in the comments after the story is complete. In a small town where dawn arrived quietly and evenings carried the sound of distant bells, there lived a man named Elias. He was known to everyone not for his voice, but for his constancy. At 79 years old, his back was bent with age, his hair thin and silver, yet his eyes still carried the weight of hope. His modest home stood near the edge of town, its porch light glowing long after others had gone dark. Each night when the world settled into sleep, Elias knelt beside his narrow bed and whispered the same prayer he had spoken for decades. "Lord, bring my daughter back to me. Wherever she is, keep her safe. Soften her heart. Let her find her way home." He had prayed those words for 45 years, the same plea, the same quiet tears, the same silence in return. Miriam had been 19 when she left. Elias remembered the night with painful clarity. The raised voices, the disappointment thick in the air, the words spoken in anger that could never be taken back. She had accused him of controlling her life with faith and fear. "I need to live without your God watching me," she said before walking out into the storm. Elias had followed her to the door, calling her name, but she never turned around. The years that followed passed slowly. Elias sent letters that came back unopened. He asked strangers if they had seen a woman with her smile. He kept her room untouched, her childhood books still lined on the shelf, dusk gathering like silent witnesses. Neighbors stopped asking about Miriam long ago. Some said she had forgotten him. Others said she was surely gone. Even the town's pastor once suggested that peace might come from acceptance instead of waiting. Elias nodded respectfully. Then he returned home and prayed again. Each night he lit a small lamp by the window. It became a quiet signal, a habit no one questioned. To Elias it was a promise. As long as that light burned, hope still lived. One winter morning, Elias did not rise with the sun. His neighbor, Clara, noticed the porch light still glowing and felt a strange unease. She knocked. There was no answer. Inside, she found Elias resting heavily, his breath shallow, his hands folded as if mid-prayer. A doctor was called, and his expression said everything words could not. "His heart is tired," he whispered. "We do not know how much time remains." By evening, a few familiar faces gathered quietly around Elias' bed. They had watched him wait for nearly half a century. The pastor sat beside him and spoke gently. "Elias, is there anything you need, anything left undone?" Elias opened his eyes slowly. A faint smile crossed his face. "I need nothing," he said. "I have already trusted." The pastor hesitated. "And if Miriam never comes home?" Elias turned his gaze toward the glowing lamp by the window. "Then I will have spent my life speaking to my father about my child. That is not wasted time. Love spoken in faith is never wasted." The room fell silent. Elias continued, his voice barely above a whisper. "When Miriam was 5, she once fell terribly ill. I prayed all night, begging God to spare her. She recovered by morning, and I thanked God. But faith did not begin because she healed. Faith began because prayer was all I had. Faith is not a contract. It is choosing trust when answers refuse to come." Snow fell softly outside as the hours passed. Elias drifted in and out of sleep, his lips still moving silently. Just before dawn, he opened his eyes one final time. "If she ever returns," he whispered, "tell her I never stopped waiting. Tell her the door was always open." His breath slowed. The lamp flickered once, then steadied. Elia's was gone. At that same hour, miles away in a nearly empty train station, a woman sat alone on a bench, clutching an old photograph. Her name was Miriam. Her hair was streaked with gray now, her face shaped by years of regret and distance. For decades she had run from home, from faith, from the memory of a father who never stopped believing in her. But lately, his face had returned to her dreams. 3 days ago, something inside her finally broke. She bought a ticket back. The train arrived at noon. Miriam stepped onto the platform with shaking legs and asked for directions to Elia's house. Clara's face fell when she heard the name. "You're Miriam?" she asked softly. Tears followed before words could. "He passed away this morning." Miriam collapsed, grief crashing over her too late. Clara pressed something into her hands, a small lamp, still warm. "He left this for you," she said. "He said to tell you he never stopped praying. Not one single night." Miriam stayed. She moved into her father's home, slept in the room where prayers had been spoken for decades, and lit the lamp each evening, continuing the ritual he began. At his grave, she placed a simple stone engraved with 4 words. He believed. I returned. Faith had waited. Love had endured. And though the answer arrived late, it arrived just the same. This story leaves us with a quiet truth. Faith is not a deal we make with heaven. It is not a promise of speed or certainty. Faith is the courage to keep trusting when silence is the only reply. Elias never lived to see the door open, yet his prayer was answered after his final breath. Perhaps you have been waiting for years. Perhaps the silence feels unbearable. Perhaps you wonder if your prayers disappear unheard. They do not. Every prayer is received. Every tear is remembered. Every moment of faith shapes a future you may never witness. Do not give up praying. The answer may be moving toward you. Your faith is not wasted, not one whisper of it. Heaven listens.